as well as your city government people. When we start talking about after school, all they can see is, in our eyes, are dollar signs, because they expect us to say, well, how much money are you going to give me to do this kind of a program? And I think we need to start taking a different kind of an approach, in that we don't necessarily need dollars to do what we want to do. We may not be able to serve everybody in our state, but we can serve some people. And you start with that one person, those two people, and you build the commitment up. Well, you can actually validate. And one of the things we don't have in after school is validation statistics that prove that we've got a lot of national research and things that tell us about, and other states have research that we utilize and use a lot. But in our state, we don't have the research that can prove that kids can benefit from after school. So it's our job, our task. And how do we do that? We do it every day of our lives. We do it every minute we're awake. And we constantly find ways to get our word out to individuals and people across the state.
If I could just add to what Harry said there and kind of piggyback on something that Greg said earlier, I think just like everything, we all have a desire for children to be doing well and to thrive. And that's a nice, positive human desire that we have. But that doesn't necessarily translate to policies or to actions or to business changes. And I think what Greg said was right on before. We have to show how it benefits you. How does after school benefit your life, your business, your experience? And it's going to be a different message for different groups. I mean, for business, it's got to be around, we're going to help your workforce be more productive, because at 3 o'clock they all start getting on the phone calling to see how the kid is, And studies have shown that the businesses lose $2,000 a person in those hours every year. So that's a message that can be sent. And what Greg said about schools, you're not going to engage a school if they think all they're doing is doing you a favor. What are you doing to benefit their goals? And you have to articulate those and make those clear. And with parents, the same thing. You've got to come up with what is the benefit to you and to your world that after school serves.
Wendell, do you have any comments about that? How do we put the word out?
I think for us, for the After School Fall Partnership, this being the first year of completion, we are now starting to gather results, gather data, figure out what we've learned, and we will be meeting, to Jame's point, individually with those key leaders to report out what we've learned. Now, will we have 10 years of linear information? Absolutely not. But we will be able to tell you what we've learned that first year, how the model worked structurally, how the model worked accountability-wise, how the model worked from a collaboration standpoint in the St. Louis metropolitan area. And that should provide us with the basis of the foundation to continue to go back to not only the state, but also the city, and also the funders that have been supportive of the concept, because we're really still in St. Louis in a conceptual stage as it relates to the After School Fall Partnership. This is the first year of the formalized collaboration, and with the great results that we're seeing early, once we're able to structure and put them in a package and then present to those first people who we hope will become advocates and believers and John the Baptists for us, I think it will help us to not only serve the 60 sites that we're serving now, but ultimately the 125 that we target over the next 2 to 3 years.
I just thought of one more thing that I just think is kind of interesting. A few years ago, I went to California, and you probably know that in California they have a model where every school has an after-school program. That's policy in California. And the way that they were able to successfully get that accomplished was there was an intermediary group called the Center for Collaboration. I don't even know if they exist anymore. But they did a lot of research. And what they learned was, and this is kind of to Wendell's point, in their programs that were operating, they were seeing a certain number of kids compared to the general population were not being held back a grade. So if they went to the after-school program, there were fewer being held back than those who did not go to the after-school. They ran the numbers, added it up, and said, okay, for all the kids that are not being held back, you're not spending